Welcome to Common Sense Investing. My name is Cameron. Should be an interesting show for you today. Just going to check and make sure that I can hear myself and that my audio is hopefully working and this entire live stream is working. Kind of pointless if you can't hear me. Does seem like everything's going okay, although I'm a little quiet. And I need my volume to be at a good level because I got a lot to say today. Basically, I want to start out with a little monologue saying, I understand. I understand your concern, right? When you got into microcap stocks, buying microcap stocks, I understand that you basically wanted to have a heart attack every day. I mean, microcap stocks are all about volatility, right? You wanted to get up in the morning and basically open your portfolio to an insane amount of anxiety and either wake up to losing all your money and having to go beg your boss for some overtime today or doubling your money and retiring for the rest of your life, because that's what was promised with microcap stocks, is basically that you were going to have a heart attack, right? Double your money, lose all your money one way or the other. And I screwed all that up because basically everything that I did so far has been looking for boring is beautiful. Stolen that from small cap discoveries. And volume is still low on this thing, and I don't know why. And that's going to kill basically my entire speech. So volatility was something that you came here in microcap stocks to get. Hopefully you can hear that a little bit better. And boring is beautiful is not something we were all looking for, right? So I let you down. At the end of the day, though, don't worry, because Donald Trump heard your fears. And why not introduce volatility into microcap stocks? Because it was just getting a little bit too boring, wasn't it? So why not have a trade war? I mean, absolutely ridiculous. Whether this was started due to fentanyl and border issues or whether it was something else, my guess personally is that word got out that too many microcap investors were outperforming Nancy Pelosi last year, and they just couldn't have that, right? So they had to throw a wrench in the system somehow, and so why not start a trade war? So today's video, I'm going to try not to get too political about this. I am a stock market channel, but it's really hard to not talk about politics just a little bit when it's so intertwined with the stock market these days. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about volatility opportunity, trying to make a positive on a really bad day for some people. This is Amazon, right? So everybody talks about how it was very obvious to buy Amazon back in the day, and look, it's done nothing but go up. But in all fairness, Amazon hasn't done nothing but go up, right? There has been times where there has been volatility, even in a large stock like Amazon, and we need to sometimes stand back from a large 20,000 feet in the air look and say to ourselves, is this an actual downtrend for a long time, or whether there's opportunity in the stock? Is right now opportunity? Is this volatility in the stock market what Donald Trump is doing right now, threatening tariffs on everybody? Is this creating some opportunity now that people can hear me a little better? So as usual, I got a short presentation. I'm going to get through it. If you have questions, comments, drop them in there. Heckle me if you want. Doesn't matter. If I see your comment time, I might get to it. Otherwise, at the end, I'll take some questions and answers, right? But really, I want to focus on this volatility opportunity. As always, not a financial advisor. What I'm talking about today is not financial advice. I do not know you personally. I don't know your financial experience, your risk tolerance, and my gosh, you need a lot of risk tolerance right now, given the situation. So this is just discussing how I invest, not how to invest, because we do need to talk about this a little bit more. Mostly I get asked kind of what to do a lot, right? How to prepare for a market crash. Um, People see their stocks going down, their portfolio going down, volatility in the news. Really, what is there to do, right? And really the simple part of it, just basic investing education. And this is straight off of Investopedia, which is a great resource for new investors, is typically not to panic, right? Have a strategy in place. And this starts weeks and weeks and months and maybe years before you get a down market, hopefully. I mean, it would be bad luck if you started investing just a few days ago and then all of a sudden we get a tariff crash, right? You build up your experience, you build up your, your intelligence, your education with the stock market. But at the end of the day, typically I recommend never panic buy anything, never FOMO buy anything, and never panic sell anything. Always have a strategy in place. Panic selling can hurt you in the long run. Really, you need to decide what your risk tolerance is, especially before you get into microcap stocks. Is this a small amount of fun money that you can afford to lose, or is this a larger amount of money? And then really also it does depend on diversification. I know some microcap investors who like to own 2 or 3 microcap stocks at most, and others who own 20 or 30. Really doesn't matter on a day when everything is down, but it does reduce your risk tolerance if you diversify a little bit. So kind of for new investors, this is a slide that I wanted to put up just to point to the basics, which you will never see me panic buying or panic selling a stock. I always have a plan, right? My plan that I put out, this was even February 1st, so this was 2 days ago, talking about this opportunity volatility, right? Tariffs will negatively impact the share price of many Canadian microcap stocks. There could be opportunity in finding the best companies able to survive and then thrive. Good balance sheet, great business model, and competent management for the win. So while everybody's scared and everybody kind of saw a stock market crash coming up on a day like today, hopefully we were kind of hoping it wouldn't happen. Maybe tariffs would get canceled on Sunday or whatever, but we always, plan for the best, but prepare for the worst. And at the end of the day, the worst can potentially bring in opportunities. That's one thing more experienced investors are always looking for, because there's always volatility. This was my live stream just last Monday talking about what? I mean, I need to stop having live streams on Monday. I am absolutely sick of this. Last week, it was DeepSeek that dropped over the weekend, Monday morning. The market just absolutely crashed. It dropped sharply is an understatement, right? NVIDIA lost $500 billion in one day last Monday. Now, this Monday, tariffs, right? Tariffs were announced February 1st, Saturday. I do applaud just talking about what I was discussing about not panicking and having a strategy. I could see that more and more people who follow my channel, or at least follow me on X anyway, 2/3 of you basically were planning for tariffs and basically saying, I've looked at my portfolio and I buy only long, I'll make it through the tariffs. Don't worry about it, or worry about it, but don't have a heart attack over it, right? Impressively calm for a bunch of high-risk microcap investors. Congratulations. I completely agree. And we saw some of that today. I'll be showing you in a minute how we saw some good experienced investors making some good amount of money today, and I absolutely applaud you. Now, little bit political, in case you don't know what I'm talking about. I got to chat about it for at least a couple seconds. It is absolutely fascinating to me how this has been playing out. I mean, this has been out there for a long time. Trump could do incredible damage to Mexico and Canada with a single signature. He threatened tariffs on Colombia. A lot of people started to panic, talking about, oh my gosh, coffee and crude oil and cut flowers expenses are going to go up because of all these tariffs. And that was solved in about 10 hours. In the meantime, after threatening Canada and Mexico, but especially Canada, basically for some reason, Canada kept preparing for a trade war. So it was fascinating to watch on my last live stream that Colombia got tariffs taken off them in about 10 hours. And for some reason, the brilliant politicians here in Canada were all ready to start a war. A lot of talk about pushback. Basically, earlier today, Donald Trump spoke to Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, had one phone conversation. It did not resolve anything. And then afterwards, Trump spoke to Mexico, and Mexico announced a deal sending 10,000 troops to the US border to avoid a trade war with the United States. And it was panic time in Canada because now Colombia had caught a deal and Mexico had caught a deal, and it was basically only Canada and China left. I will say, not even political, but I don't know who watches this channel that has any influence over this. Whether you're talking politics or whether you're talking investing, extremely disappointed in the media right now for me. I mean, you see this one headline here, right? Trump pauses tariffs on Mexico, but levies remain for Canada and China. This news came out. It was news, and every piece of news on my screen, this was a screenshot from today, right off my computer. Every piece of news is fear and panic inducing. Every single one is a terrible, terrible, scary article to read about fighting back and the impact of tariffs and how we're going to help, and the loony's going to crash and the TSX is going to crash. The media fear-mongering issues instead of presenting both sides of the situations and letting people decide, letting investors decide for themselves, is an absolute travesty to watch, right? There's nothing good on this screen at all. That incredibly, incredibly disappointed me. Now, at the end of the day, this happened after the markets closed. So if you'll see, if you go look at your portfolio today, if you go check on your favorite stocks today, almost every single one is in the red, because this deal, Canada did catch a deal committing to all kinds of different things, including a fentanyl czar, which sounds a lot like Daniel Smith from Alberta, who presented that opportunity for Trudeau to take. And basically, Canada caught a deal, and just like Mexico has postponed tariffs in theory for another 30 days by doing all this stuff. However, this was dropped around, I think, an hour after the market closed, roughly. So stocks did not get an opportunity to rebound before this announcement for Canada. At the end of the day, before I drop off kind of the political spectrum here and look at some stocks specifically, I do want to say, you know, kind of put ourselves in this situation. I do hope that Canada decides to change this, build some pipelines, encourage construction, reduce some taxes, because the reason the United States has been allowed to do this right now, and, you know, we can blame Trump all we want because he is the leader of what's going on right now and loves tariffs. But at the end of the day, when you're the largest, richest, most economically strong country in the world right now, with a GDP per capita that's absolutely crushing Canada right now, they can get away with it, right? And that's really disappointing from my perspective. Is, you know, Canada was really put in a situation where we were definitely the tiny little underdogs here fighting back. At the end of the day, though, volatility, opportunity. Who made money on this, right? Let's take a look at a few of these. BioRem. This is a small cap discovery stock. This was trading for up to $3.30 Canadian not too long ago. $2.01. I know it's really hard to see. Here's the main line here. $2.20 is where most of the massive sales stopped right here. But there's this one little candle wick where somebody sold for $2.01 Canadian. So all the way down from $3.30 to $2.01 today. And this is, look, it's tough because I know people have sometimes jobs to go to, and you may have decided over the weekend you just want to get out, protect your capital at any cost. But when you set a no limit sell order or a no limit sell order stop loss, which is basically, look, come Monday morning, I'm going to sell at any price. I don't care. I just want out because I expect like 100% crash, something like that. This is what happens, right? I mean, at the end of the day, BioRem closed at around, I think it's $2.46. and somebody sold at $2.01 this morning. Now, at the end of the day, I am going to take a deeper look at BioRem on this channel anyway. I know this is a good company. I've been staying away from it because it's been a small cap discovery stock. But at this price, common sense investing cannot avoid taking a look, dropping from $3.30 down to about $2.50, $2.46. This $2 sale here for BioRem, I think, was around 4 times EBITDA, right? So incredibly cheap. It's starting to head down the road of ADF Group, which is like getting stupid cheap, and it's probably worth another look. There it is here, closed at 246, down 6.82%, but went much, much lower. This current price, where BioRem is sitting at right now, is all the way back to October of 2024, before they had their really good earnings that sent that share price up significantly. So potentially you get a free good quarter out of BioRem at today's current price, and that one is worth my time. Another one here, ADF Group. Tired of talking about this one, but again, no limit sell orders or stop loss limit sell orders, $7.25. It's sold this morning twice. You could see 2 little candles here. I know that's pretty tiny to see, probably if you're watching on the phone, right? But most of the selling stopped here at about $7.40 or so. But 2 people at least sold for $7.25 this morning. Somebody picked that up. Unbelievable that it went that low, but maybe not that unbelievable considering it's now gone from $20.50 down to the $8 mark. That's absolutely insane. But ADF Group, and I mean, it closed at what was it, about $7.93 or something like that. So somebody sold at $7.25, and just in the day, somebody made quite a bit of profit going from $7.25 to $7.23 or $7.93. Somebody made money in ADF Group, and good on them, right? Because not a lot of people have been making money on ADF Group. Similar to BioRem, looking at it today, and keep in mind, this went to $7.25 this morning. Looking at this price of $7.89, $7.93, basically the last time that ADF Group was at this share price was this time last year in 2024. So at this current price, below $8, ADF Group has now wiped out an entire year of share price gains. Gone. Absolutely gone. Absolutely incredible, right? Now, I'm not done with them because I know there's been a lot of negativity, but yet a lot of intelligent investors keep talking about ADF Group. What have they been doing lately? Not sure if anybody has seen this. Share buybacks. Look at that massive list of share buybacks. $285,000, $112,000, $291,000, $303,000, $260,000. It just keeps going. This is a whole page on CEO.ca of share buybacks. They have started to cancel some, right? But they have the rest of these to cancel. This was just reported today, February 3rd. A lot of these were bought basically every day, right? 23rd, 24th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th. ADF Group has been intelligently buying back their own shares for every day for a long time now. And it keeps getting cheaper for them. So if you like share buybacks, this is the stock for you. We'll see where it can go. Absolutely dunking right now on people talking negative about them with this many share cancellations at a much cheaper price, right? Ugly. It's been a bad year, and a lot of people are celebrating, and I kind of agree. There was a lot of year-to-date bros out there. Remember about January 5th when the markets were good? It lasted all 5 or 6 days. Everybody was talking about, oh, year to date, I'm already up 15%. Year to date, I'm already up 20%. It's getting pretty ugly. There's a few stocks still left in the green, but other than probably 2 weeks so far, week or two in microcap stocks where we've had a decent bull market, for the most part, it's been a bear market. For the most part, it's been a Donald Trump market, right? Whether you agree with what's going on or not doesn't matter. The market does not like volatility, And so stocks have been going down, even though there's some opportunity in that. Couple stocks I wanted to talk about today, though, Covalon Tech and Mind Technology. It's amazing what good communication can get you. I've previously talked about Covalon, and one of the reasons I'm interested in the stock is good management. This is too tiny for you to read, but you can go read it. This is their press release from this morning. Just this morning, as tariffs were dropping, they released a note to shareholders. Basically, Covalon Technologies releases statement on United States-Canada trade dispute, just calming things down for their shareholders, for new investors looking at them, basically talking about their plan for tariffs. At this point, tariffs were basically 100% expected to drop. And you could see that Covalon, due to this good communication, and I wish more microcap CEOs would take a look at this, basically a sea of red today. Everything is down. I'm not going to include North Star Clean Tech because this is a high risk pre-revenue stock. Only two stocks in this entire list were in the green. One was a US stock, so no wonder it's in the green. And the other Canadian, the only Canadian stock on this list that was positive, Covalon Technologies, thanks to their good communication. So something to think about. Another bit of a rant for me and a little bit off topic, and I don't want to talk about which channel this is, right? But one of the things that I saw coming from some of the Canadian channels is talking about, how I plan to invest in this new world, the tariff world, when everybody expected tariffs to drop, right? And there's a lot of support for Canada. I absolutely love it. Talking about, buying Canadian products, supporting Canada. That's fantastic. This is controversial for me to say this, but I don't mind saying it anywhere. I don't really agree with it, right? Your investments are your retirement, your kids' college money, your future, and your family's future. You buy what you think is going to make you the most money. I don't think fighting back means investing in something you think might lose you money as a sign of defiance. Buy Canadian products, support Canada, but I wouldn't let it change your investing strategy or let people guilt you into buying Canadian-only stocks. Companies won't do the same for you. Money and politics don't belong in the same conversation. I cannot wait until I can stop talking about politics on this channel. Before the US elections, I never talk politics on this channel. There's absolutely no reason to. The only reason I am now is because when Trump threatens tariffs, the politics directly collide with the stock market. It has to be discussed. When tariffs can, crash, microcaps on average this morning were down probably 6, 7, 8%. When a political action can cause that kind of drop, we need to talk about it. But for the most part, I typically suggest money and politics do not belong in the same conversation. Talking about money is difficult enough. We don't want to bring politics in it, right? So for me, this is about making money, and this is true. Companies won't do the same for you. They absolutely won't. I typically recommend people go invest in what you think is going to make you the most money. Please, at least for me, I am not just buying Canadian stocks just because I want to support Canada. That's not the point. And I know that's a little bit controversial to hear, and I'm sorry, but that's just my thought process. This is your money. The stock market is not a place to make a statement, right? And this is where, politics collide with the stock market, as we see every day, 1 day ago, 2 days ago, 3 days ago. When political action affects, our portfolio every morning, that's something we need to discuss. But getting back into some stocks and away from me preaching at you, Atrium Research just opened up some coverage on one of my favorite stocks, which is Sabio Holdings. I'm going to look like a genius on this one, or I don't know, maybe it doesn't work out in a year or two and I don't look like a genius, but I have supported Sabio pretty well over the past year. It's gone from about 25 cents to about 50 cents. A lot of people sold it because they've been swing trading it on political revenue. I've been trying to tell people that Sabio Holdings has a little bit more meat on the bone than just political revenue. They do have a pretty decent core business. Atrium Research has spoke to Sabio, and I know this is a little bit small to see, so I did enlarge it here. And basically, Atrium Research is saying that Sabio trades at about 5.4 times 2025 expected EBITDA, or about 3.6 times 2026 expected EBITDA. That's getting into what Biorem was trading at today, right? So different company. This was actually a company that should not have been affected by the tariffs, yet it was down today from about 50 cents Canadian down to about 47 cents Canadian. So a lot of these stocks that really had nothing to do with tariffs were still getting hit and did provide some opportunity. And it was interesting for Atrium to drop research on Sabio Holdings on such a bad day. So I didn't want this to slip under the radar. It's worth a read. And I always tell people, or if you haven't heard it from me before, here it is. Make sure when these research reports come out, go check the disclosures. Just a little tip from Common Sense Investing. Are they being paid for the information, and how are they being paid for the information? So this report from Atrium Research, yes, they are being paid for this research report in cash, but they also reserve the right for editorial control over their product. So in theory, all this information is good, and they're not being paid in shares or warrants or stock options. So cash, good, or as good as it can get. Stock options, warrants, or giving a research analyst a reason, a motivation to pump up the share price of a stock so they could sell, that's bad. Cash is good. And this research report from Atrium Research was paid in cash according to their disclosure. I think it's pretty good information. From what I went and looked at through this research report, it's pretty accurate for what I know of Sabio Holdings. So good work to them. Little bit of education on a bad day. Continues looking at some of these stocks because there's always more to learn from microcap stocks day in and day out. Beware Holdings is another one. And I think this is my repetitive slogan for this day is, volatility, opportunity, and people who's selling like this. So this is Beware Holdings. Recently, it was trading for 71, 72, 73 cents Canadian. This little drop, I blew it up here. Beware Holdings for one little blip in the morning. Again, a no limit stop loss sale, probably shares sold for less than 65 cents for Beware Holding for just one trade, basically, right here. After that, smart, intelligent investors immediately bought that trade, bought the dip, and it did recover a little bit back up to 69 cents. But this is a stock that is very much interesting me as this share price drops, similar to Biorem. And I mean, come on, somebody, I wish that was me. I'd like to say that was me. I did not buy it at that little dip, but absolutely fascinating day there for Beware Holdings. Another one, US stock, too soon. Am I allowed to talk about Mind Technology? Not banning US stocks. Look at the volatility opportunity on this one. Day range, I blew it up right here. 824, all the way to 947. Closed the day after hours before this live stream. I took this picture, $9.50 for Mind Technology. 15% gain for somebody who bought here at the bottom, willing to take that risk on a bad day in the stock market. $8.24 all the way up to $9.50. 15% gain in one day. So, I mean, we could talk about it a little bit. I've posted this slide a couple times. And again, not financial advice, just me when I take profit. Heading into today, last week with all the tariff threats and everything, I did want to reduce my risk. Personally, I was up to about 10% cash heading into the weekend. I knew there was going to be volatility, opportunity, and or a long-term stock market problem moving forward with tariffs, right? So just for me, a little bit of anxiety over that. You're worried about losing too much money. I did cash up a little bit. And as well, the other personal reasons, it de-risks a little bit, as well as it gives me some cash to take advantage of some of these opportunities if the stock market turns around. So I definitely never, like, when people ask, what should I do? What should I do? I never say what to do. But basically, if you're worried about it, if you're confused, if you have anxiety, if you're worried about losing too much money, if you're losing sleep at night because the stress is killing you, it never hurts to cash up, right? I'm never going to fault anybody for that. I do it myself. I recently made a video on my Patreon. This was the very, very basic beginnings of stock market investors. So, for any absolutely new stock market investors, and I was surprised and thankful to see how many brand new investors were in my Patreon talking about stocks, willing to learn about stocks, that I made this video, and I'm going to have more videos like this to come because I always kind of feel bad. I kind of assume that most people have been investing since about 2020, and I completely forget that there's new people here every day, and welcome, right? And I talk about this as far as preparation, planning, and strategy for going into some of these market crashes and looking at volatility opportunity. Really, it comes down for me, can I sleep at night? I can easily, even when times are stressful, as long as I look at my portfolio and I'm happy with some of these things, that I understand, where the companies that I'm investing in, where they get their revenue from, how they get their revenue, that I'm competent enough to understand that I have a company that through tariffs or not through tariffs is at least going to maintain this revenue, potentially grow it in the future. This is a good company, good product, good service that I like. Secondly, talking about the quality of that company. I'm not just looking at stocks with top line growth and really bad fundamentals, all meat and no potatoes, right? We're looking at the quality of those earnings. Are they making earnings? What percentage of the revenue goes to earnings? Whether or not this is a profitable company. And then at the end of the day, talking about sales and talking about their earnings, are they making cash? Because guess what? When times get bad, if there's tariffs and all of a sudden they go from making cash to not making cash, they will dilute you. They will dilute you, and pretty soon share dilution means that you are going to be sharing your ownership of the company with your shares with a bunch of other new shareholders, right? That's basically what share dilution means. And as long as I get this out of the companies in my portfolio, that I'm happy with their sales revenue, good quality earnings out of the company, making cash, can weather a downturn for 12 months. If Donald Trump decides for some reason tomorrow that there's 50% tariffs on Canada for the next 6 months, the companies that I own will survive that, then that's exactly what I'm looking for, right? And when I'm looking for some of these stocks on these days, because I know the big question is, it's really hard when there's volatility to take advantage of these dips and buy these stocks right at the bottom before a rebound. Very hard to do. And really, this comes down to the time and effort and research you put into these stocks before today ever happens, right? And I typically say what I'm looking at is, if this is a company, if this is a small business that I think I would like to own, if I had to quit my job with $1 million and I had to invest in a company with that $1 million, but it had to support my family and myself financially for the rest of my life, is it a good company? Is it good enough that I could invest my last $1 million in the world and it would keep me financially viable until I retire, right? And if you look at the stock market like that, I think too many people forget about that. When you're buying shares, you are buying a piece of the business. You are buying a business. And if you can remember that and start getting a little bit more conviction in some of these companies as businesses that you own as an owner, and they have good revenue, good earnings, and they're making cash, then I think you have a lot more conviction to weather out some of these storms. And of course, what I'm looking for is trends. I'm not necessarily looking for any specific number, even though I just talked about Sabio Holdings and BioRem being at 4 times EBITDA. Really, I'm looking for good quality companies that are going up. At the end of the day, for me, really answering the question why is something that's needed on days like today. Why are you invested in this stock? Why are you bullish on this stock? Why are you selling? Why are you buying? If you're an investor that every time you make a decision, you can answer why with conviction, then even if you get it wrong, you can go back and you can learn from that and be a better investor tomorrow. So I typically encourage people, the worst thing you can do, especially on days like today, or especially in these volatile moments in the stock market, is not understand why. I'd rather people make decisions and have those decisions be wrong and be able to go back and learn from that than not make a decision, not know what to do, not be able to learn anything, right? Make decisions in the stock market and then go back and learn. Now, questions and answers. I'm done. That's enough ranting for the day. It's been pretty stressful though. So let's see here. All right. The screen of death. Lots of questions, lots of comments. How's everybody doing? Did anybody make money today? Anybody? Anybody buy Biorem at $2.01? Anybody buy ADF Group at $7.25 right at the bottom, right? More volume. I got that all fixed. EMO.V setting up to run into the trial for the no idea what that is. Never heard of it. I'll go take a look. EMO.V. The rich get richer when they have the power to manipulate the markets. Yep. That's it. My Nancy Pelosi joke is the truth, right? Because Nancy Pelosi sold NVIDIA right before DeepSeek. Like, how do they get away with this? I don't understand how they get away with it. And, absolutely no thought with the stock market as far as what's going on right now, right? And it is the rich get richer. It's very disappointing. I've been talking about that. It gets more into politics than the stock market. That's why I love the stock market. Despite the volatility, I feel like I at least have control. I have control over my decisions. I have control over the quality of my research. I have control over the price that I buy, and I have control over the price that I sell. So I do like that control. I can't predict the overall markets, the tide's going up, the tide's going down, day crash, day up. I can't predict that, but I can control my decisions, and I like that. I must say, politically, as far as the rich getting richer, I do feel like as I get older, taxes just keep going up and up and up. I actually felt like less of a tax pawn when I was younger than I do now. I'm getting older, I'm making more money, and I just feel like all that money's going to taxes. I'm not making any more than I did when I was 25 years old. Now I'm 45 years old. I make more, but I pay so much more in taxes. I don't know that I have an extra dollar more of disposable income, right? The rich get richer when they defraud people and suck them into a deceptive scheme. Well, crypto, it's Sunday. Crypto markets crashed Sunday. I think they mostly recovered. I saw at least Bitcoin recovered, right? Some crypto was down 20, 25% there Sunday night. It was absolutely insane. And I was, I hate to say it, but it was like, okay, crypto's finally dropping, right? And then it's right back up. PFE reports in the morning should move up, which already raised the dividend from 42 to 43. Don't know PFE. I can go take a look at them. I don't cover many dividend stocks, though. If it's a microcap, dividends aren't my favorite, right? People want out of ADF because of the shady management that sold on the top of the rip. Yeah, I mean, I keep hearing that, but we're past that. We're past that. There's more reasons than that. That was a great excuse for people when share price went from $17 to about 13, 14, 15. You could blame management for whatever, and it caused the share price to crash $2 or $3. That's totally fine. With ADF down to the $7 level, it's way beyond that. It's way beyond that. They have a lot of issues. The narrative that they're fighting right now, ADF Group, is that they're the top of the market, especially if you go watch Keystone Financial over and over on their videos. They make videos on ADF Group a lot because their clients ask them about it a lot because it was trading for like 1 times EBITDA just about. It's like a ridiculously low valuation number. So a lot of people ask, and every video Keystone puts out basically says they're at the top of the market. So If ADF Group can ever get and announce large contracts to significantly grow their backlog, it's gonna rocket up. Right now the narrative is that management is bad, but really it's their backlog that's killing them right now. They need contracts, they need a backlog, and if they can get that, they'll go up way back up in share price. But right now it's not too good. Golden Sachs has top pick for 2025 to $40, which earnings for last week's too big for many up. Sorry, not sure what stock you're talking about. Oh, TELUS, yeah, that sector was up today. XBot, isn't that Realbotics XBot.v? That's the company that's making the robotic girlfriends. Let me know if I'm correct there. Fascinating company. Wish them luck. Absolutely not something as a retail investor that I invest in, because it's pre-revenue, right? They're really not making anything yet. I've got one pre-revenue stock on my channel this year, North Star Clean Energies. One. The only reason that they're on my channel this year is they're going to have their facility fully constructed by this summer. So very short timeline coming up. Something like Realbotics XBot, a great company to trade, in my opinion. But as a fundamental investor that looks at, revenue growth, earnings growth, making cash, boring is beautiful, not kind of my stock to buy and hold, invest. Go trade all you want. It's going to go up. These AI stocks, robotic stocks, they're going to go up. And I always tell people, like I just did, don't just buy Canadian stocks to support Canada, right? You buy whatever the hell you think is going to make you money. That's what you're doing. This is the stock market. This is not a political statement here. You make money. And that's the same thing with some of these AI stocks. I trade them. I will buy it if I think it's going to go up. And when I think it's not going to go up anymore, I will sell it. That's what we're here to do, right? So go for it. But with a company like this, fundamentally, I can't get a handle around it yet. I don't know what their future is going to be 2, 3, 4, 5 years out. It's all speculation, right? My dearest strategy was buying panic, a few percent more risk, few percent less cash. The opposite for rational pops. Today was a trader's buffet. That's exactly what I said my whole video, right? And these are the smart investors that are making money on days like today, taking these opportunities. And really, you have to decide, what kind of investor you are, how much risk tolerance you have, because there was potential today that when you bought the bottom, that it could have gone down further, right? That's always the risk. But for me, again, I try to minimize that risk by putting time and research into a company, trying to decide their valuation, what it's worth. And it's a lot less risk for me. For example, if I've decided that BioRem is worth $3, and today it went from $2.50 to $2 because everybody's panicking, your good investor who's put in that research sees that drop to $2. They're panicking not because they're panic selling. They're hoping to hell they can buy it at $2, right? I mean, if you think in a good market it's worth $3 and you could buy these stocks for $2, the same people that are panic selling are panic buying. I had a few of those today. I put a couple stink bids on some stocks, and I was actually nervous because I was hoping they would get filled. I was hoping to buy, and most of them didn't fill today. But what can you do? I love McCoy Global. Look, even with tariffs, McCoy Global only has 50% exposure to the United States. They're selling in the Middle East. They're selling to Brazil, a little bit in Canada, 2 to 3%. So they would have had some exposure to tariffs, 50%. They also have a facility down in the United States. At the same time, you have to be careful because even with the crash today, McCoy Global was trading for $2.68 a month ago. And they crashed today down to, I think, $2.90. So just because it's a crash doesn't mean that it's a buying opportunity. I love the company, and I think even at this price, it's probably a good entry. Who knows, right? But yeah, McCoy Global. What the heck is this? How about block that? Block somebody here who just keeps talking in something letters about commissions paid and withdrawing profits, which is not something that I do. So, last chance for questions, comments, concerns. I mean, tariffs. The thing that we're looking at here too is that this isn't going away. So my little, monologue at the start about, Donald Trump wants volatility and he's tired of these boring stocks that are just going up like they did in 2024. It's really not a joke because basically we're in a situation that every 30 days we could see something like this, which is an absolute shame because I do think that right in January there, the microcap market was spring loaded for a bull market. We were just about to go on a bull run, right? This is the time of the year where we should see a bull run. Look, earnings season is coming up soon. Q4's full year 2024 earnings for a lot of these companies are coming in. Some of the best companies are going to have good earnings. We are ready for a bull market. The problem is that we can't seem to get there this year because every time we just start going on a run in microcaps and start getting that price movement on good volume, we get DeepSeek, or now we get tariffs. In 30 days, we're going to get tariffs. So, there's going to be questions over and over and over again about, am I buying, am I selling? And, hopefully we can continue to see, especially earnings, drive the share price higher. But at the end of the day, volatility opportunity, as long as you're an investor that's willing to value a stock, hold long term, you think it's worth $3, you're buying it for $2. You got to see that as a positive and just try to wait out some of these more stressful times, right? Can't wait for 30 days from now. Yeah, I mean, one of those days where, it definitely turns investors into traders, right? Whether you were trying to buy the dip and hold long term and you finally got the opportunity to get a starting position in a company that you've liked for a long time, but you just felt like you missed out. For me, probably BioRem, right? It went up to $3.30 and it was like, okay, good company, great company, share price has gone up. I probably have some better opportunities. And then all of a sudden it comes down to $2.50, $2. For a buy and hold investor, today was an absolute dream. Also for a trader, some of these stocks, you just sit there in the morning and you just go, my gosh, this is ridiculous. I have to buy this. And then good news comes out and man, people were up 15% on the day. Are you still expecting NTG Clarity to have weak numbers in Q4 and Q1? Well, I don't know about Q1, but potentially. I'm not sure about weak. People will be concerned about. Look, it's the same thing every year for NTG that I've seen in every quarter is when you're growing this quickly, you have to spend to grow. Now, what you've seen is some companies struggle with that, right? TMG, Thermal Energy International, Gatekeeper Systems. Those are two companies right now that are having trouble with that because they are spending cash to grow. They don't have the contract buying pressure that NTG does. So they're spending cash to grow, but they're not getting that growth yet. We're hoping that growth comes in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, right? Spending money now for money tomorrow. That's completely normal in microcaps. You always get that type of volatility from these companies. Their share price has gone down. With NTG Clarity Networks, they're spending money to grow, but they're also growing. And what that affects is their margins look low and their cash collection looks low. So when I say weak, typically what you're going to see with NTG is that their top line revenue is going to be really good. Their margins are going to drop because they're spending money right now for 2025 growth. And the real question is how much cash they collect, because this company has a stigma, and probably rightfully so, is in the past, they have not done a good job of collecting their cash. And because they're spending so much money to grow right now, that stigma still exists as to whether Are they struggling to collect their cash, or are they using that cash to grow? So I don't expect the numbers to be weak. I think that they're going to be very good. It's just I know that people will have an argument for that they are weak because the margins are going to be low because they're spending cash for all this growth. You can't grow 100% top line growth every year without spending a lot of cash to get there, right? These copy trade hucksters are based overseas and are always spamming the comments and Twitter messages, always blocked. Yeah, I've never seen that before on a live stream. I've never been spammed on a live stream. So I'm going to have to start watching for that and be more Johnny on the spot for that, because this is, I mean, this person just keeps coming back, right? I'll just put him in a timeout this time and see what happens. I already blocked him. He came back, right? So I put him in a timeout. Any updates on Kraken Robotics, or is she sailing along just fine? Look, you know as much as I do, and I've been saying this with Kraken Robotics for damn near a year now. It's not a retail stock anymore, right? Once they hit 65 cents, they started to get institutional buying. Institutions have bought this stock up from 65 cents to $3. And the company has really stopped communicating with retail investors. We're not getting the big press releases anymore. We're not getting consistent updates. That information is going to the institutional investors that own a significant part of Kraken Robotics and growing. And they can use, the Navy contracts, the NDNAs, as an excuse to not communicate with retail investors. Right now, Kraken Robotics is in the hands of the institutions, right? So I don't really have any information except for the numbers when they come out at earnings. But even then, I mean, with their share price right now with Kraken Robotics, it's really a matter of what they're going to do in the future. Because if you look at Kraken Robotics today, trailing 12-month, you could argue that they're overpriced, they're overvalued. But investing isn't about what the company's done in the past 12 months. It's about what the company, where it's going to be in the next 12 months, the next 24 months, the next 48 months. And right now, we're not getting that information. That's going to institutional investors who just keep buying up this stock. At the same time, it's not immune to, crashes in the stock market. It was just at $3. Everybody was celebrating that. What is it at now? $2.60 something, right? So you have to be careful, right? Because we don't have that information. Can Alaska uranium is looking amazing right now, Cameron. I don't really do any resource stocks. Look, I'll make a promise. We get a conservative government, I'll come back to this space, right? I've been said this over and over and over at live streams. I have friends that invest in resource stocks. There have been some that have made money. None of them have outperformed me. This industry in Canada has been killed over the past 9 or 10 years. There's been very little resource development, high expenses, low productivity. You get excited about a project about to get started, and they lose permits and it falls apart and you lose money, right? So I don't know anything about Alaska uranium, but I have stayed away from any kind of resource stock now for quite a significant amount of time. Too volatile. I'm joking today about the volatility of the tariffs and everything, but the volatility that we saw today is just every day in resource stocks, and I am not going in there, right? If we get a conservative government, permit approvals, consistent, 1 year tops to kind of get mine in the ground, then I'll kind of come back, right? But not right now. Not right now. CVV.V has me back in. Never heard of it. I'll have to go take a look. CVV. Unless you're talking about COV, Covalon. Volume was up on Beware today. Yeah, I mean, look, some of these better companies, their shareholders aren't dumb. They're not going to be scared off by volatility. So one of the things I actually do, if you'll notice sometimes on my channel or on my Patreon, I did it today in today's video, right? What do? I highlight the stocks that are moving against the tide. So when all stocks are down Everything was red today. What was up? Covalon. That was the only Canadian stock of the 44 stocks on my list that was up today. I can use that as a barometer for the future. Like, what are the shareholders thinking? What are the shareholders doing? Because for a stock, every other stock, a lot of their peers, competition, other Canadian microcaps were down 6, 7, 8, 9% today. Covalon was up 3%. What are they doing differently? That was same with Beware. If you look at Beware 2 weeks ago, even earlier last week during the DeepSeek thing, a lot of stocks were down 6, 7, 8, 9%. Beware was up, right? So the last week or two, Beware was up when everything else was red. I am not surprised that a company like Beware had a lot of volume today, because those same shareholders that were driving the price up a couple weeks ago when the markets were bad, they're still there today, and they're happily buying more at a cheaper price. So absolutely no surprise. If all the stocks are up, go look at the one or two that are down. What happened? What went wrong? Why aren't they up? Always when you're researching, go take a look and make sure that you find the stock that that really is going against every other stock yet. Institutional buying, not that I'm aware of in Covalon. We're hoping so. It's getting close, but typically you're looking for that 100 million. And what have they been at? 80 million, 70 million, 75, 80, 85 million. They aren't quite up there yet. What we're waiting for, or my suspicion on Covalon, is their full year audited numbers. So institutional investors are a lot more willing to invest after the full year audited numbers. So they don't want to get scammed, right? They don't want to explain to their boss, to their bosses, to whoever owns or works with them, that they got scammed by a company faking their earnings. So once you get audited earnings, it's more likely that an institution will jump in at some point, especially when a company's had a major inflection point. Right? Do you believe it? Is it real, or are they fudging the earnings? Are they faking the earnings? Are they lying about something? Well, one way to mitigate that risk is to wait for the full year audited numbers. Getting late in the day, but I'm pretty sure that isn't the next quarter the full year audited numbers for Covalon. So that would be what I'm looking for, but I better check. You never know. Some of these companies are a little bit off timing, right? Covalon. Let's see here. Did they just, right, they just reported their fourth quarter. So 27 days ago, they reported their fourth quarter and year end. So I would suggest with Covalon that institutional investors are looking at them, at least right now. I haven't seen any buying, but yeah. So I like Covalon. Now that you've ghosted me on Discord, is this the same person? Who the heck is this? Why won't it work to block this person? Huh. Anyway, I've not ghosted anybody on Discord. I don't know what the heck somebody's talking about. Got into OmniLight, going to DCA the next few months. Still on my Kraken holding since price lows. Thanks to you. You're the best. Good luck on OmniLight. They need an investor relations person, right? Share prices hold up pretty well. I was worried about OmniLight because of the LA fires. They were basically right in the center of the LA fires. But California Nanotechnologies works right beside them, put out a press release saying that we're fine. We weren't impacted by the fires. So OmniLight probably isn't impacted by the fires. As far as tariffs, it's interesting because this is OmniLight Canada, but this is a company that's manufacturing in the United States using USD. So there would have been basically no tariff implications. Just their Q3 numbers came in and they had a machine breakdown. So the Q3 numbers were pretty bad, right? And yeah, so I like OmniLight. They were, I think, number one on my Nanocap stock video. So anyway, that's all that is. Anything else? Last chance. Last chance for questions. 1 hour in. All right. Well, looks like that's it. Thanks, everybody. Look, volatility opportunity. Try to look at the bright side of everything. Take advantage where you can. Make sure you understand what your risk is and go from there. And we'll see you in a week. And hopefully it's a better Monday next time.